I want to buy into weakness because I've already done, just like you did, the due diligence on the property as someone goes chasing after drugs. So,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
let's just call a spade a spade. While everyone's
Yeah,
losing their mind,
yeah,
that's
it's
when I
tough.
want to be buying, and that's what you did. So that's why I wanted to tell this story. Hey, everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing well. I'm super excited. The Fed is coming out with some more decisions. There's more job owning. It's getting a little bit more intense. Why? Because things are going bad. The dollar is in trouble. Inflation is rearing its ugly head. So I thought I'd have on a gentleman from a mining company. And the reason I want to talk to him, and you're going to hear the story at the end, how they acquired a special property, but it has to do with these stories where news is ramping up. People want to do one thing and all of a sudden things change. Sorry for the long-winded intro. I'm with Warwick Smith. Warwick, how you doing?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on. Excited to talk to you and all the subscribers.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a huge day because the CPI number just came out. It's higher. December grew another 0.5%. And where 0.5% doesn't really matter to a lot of people, it seems like the economy is changing very, very fast with prices going up. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, as this started happening, it's been happening for a while. But I remember a few months ago watching yourself and a couple of other guys and thinking, is this happening where I live? And then starting to see it firsthand, both that supply chain issues, et cetera. But when you start seeing it at your local grocery store, things that you were buying that were $2 before that all of a sudden are $2.50 or $3 or $3.50, it takes a moment to take that pause and think to yourself, well, how am I and how am my family going to deal with this going forward? And we're really, I mean, listen, I live in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and we're seeing it directly now. I mean, we've started to see, we went through, big floods, et cetera, as well, but we started to see, shelves not being stocked, all those types of things. Part of that was due to flooding, for sure, but we've seen the prices go up. We've seen supply chain issues. This is happening in real time. And it's, I've been hearing about it for a while, and then seeing it firsthand was a real wake up call on my end.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we see the Fed job owning. They talk before they act because they want to try and quail fears. I always get that word wrong, but they always try and calm people down before they have to do something. Why? Because isn't it true that to raise interest rates right now, it would only mean one thing, and that's the dollar is in trouble, correct?
Yeah, it's a crushing, right? But you're right. Look, governments have to talk before they act. I mean, that's one of those things. They're throwing it out there to see what the reaction is going to be from the market, et cetera. So certainly that's something that they're going to do. Yes, if they raise rates, when they raise rates, I think it's going to spell a lot of trouble, in particular for the U.S. But the U.S. dovetails into the Canadian economy as well. So being ready for that and what you're doing and helping people get ready for that, that's of key importance because having all this information is good, but you gotta take it and you gotta reflect on how this is going to affect your personal household, right? Like that's the key. How are you going to come out of this? How are you going to survive if things go poorly? And that's really like I think you do an excellent job of preparing people to do that. What do you need to do if things go sideways? If they raise rates and the things hit the fan, then that's a problem, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. So let me ask you this. What are some things that you said a couple of months ago, you started to see these shelves going empty and you're starting to think, okay, what can I do? And right now, it's a two-part question. What are you doing to prepare? But also, what do you think is going to happen when the Fed starts to finally raise these rates?
Yeah, look, I mean, for myself, I'm heavily invested in the stock market in different sectors, but primarily on the junior mining side. So I own a lot of junior mining companies. I do own things in the tech space and other spaces as well, which I find interest in. But I'm consciously aware of what's happening with those companies, not just the stocks, but with those companies. Which ones do I want to pull out of as I start to see things go ahead, and which ones do I want to hold because I own the company itself? That's one. And then two, on the personal front, doing things like if you have the ability to pay off your home, pay off your home. So you're not going to have you're not going to have issues on that going forward. Once you own your home, life becomes a world easier, right? So things along those lines, holding cash. I know the buying power of cash is going down, but you still want to hold cash, in my opinion, so that when things do go squirrely, you've got that ability that you're not having to sell things or move forward and push things out the door that you'd rather keep. So those are a couple of the things on my personal side that we look at.
See, I like that because I talk about having dry powder a lot, and we're going to get to a story that you have a little bit later in the video about when you had dry powder and you were able to execute, and it was fast, but it's because you did the research. Before we talk about that, let's talk about 2008, because you said you were invested heavily in stocks in 2008. You always saw them take a dip. And I've talked to people about this, especially when we're dealing with the mining sector, the story of how precious metals, paper, gold, and silver contracts were being liquidated because of a liquidity event, because of Lehman and Bear Stearns, like a 6-month period. Well, that affected the mining stocks. So you've lived through that cycle. And I try and explain to people what happened in November of 2008 when gold and silver hit their bottom, but the stock market indices kept falling into 2009. Now, we obviously know there's a multi-year bull run in precious metals, and that took the mining sector up. And I guess this is probably a good time to say, you are the CEO of American Pacific, but you're also tied to a company that I invest in. I don't own American Pacific, but I own Silver Hammer. You started a property there, right? And you had it. Was it this property, that property, or another one? You had that dry powder story you were telling me. I really thought was fascinating.
Yeah, so the dry powder stories for American Pacific. Yeah, I'm a significant shareholder of Silver Hammer. We were a couple of guys that found the original asset and helped build the team there as well. They're doing excellent things. I think they've done, Morgan in particular, Morgan Lekstrom's done an excellent job of driving that company forward, and he will continue to do, in my estimation.
Yeah, I like Morgan. I do. Yeah. We had a chance to hang out. I really do like him. He's a cool guy.
No, me too. What do you want in a CEO? The first and foremost thing that you want is a guy who lives and dies it and lives and breathes that company. He's that guy for Silver Hammer. He's doing an excellent job on that.
Now, the dry powder story, that's about American Pacific though, right?
Yeah. The dry powder story is a pretty good one. So, American Pacific, we had looked, myself and my partner in 2016, had gone down to Montana to look at this asset. We really liked it, but another company beat us out. They bought it before we got a chance to get it. But we reviewed it. We'd done the due diligence. We liked it. Another company buys it. They do great work. They come in, they drill, they drill into what's called the porphyry, which is a big system. April of 2019, they bring in a partnership with Rio Tinto. Rio Tinto is the second largest mining company in the world. So Rio can now spend up to $30 million US to earn 70% of the project. It's Rio. They're looking for something big. So it's exciting.
Yes.
2 months later, they make the decision. They're not going to be in mining anymore. They want to get into psychedelics and focus on medical mushrooms. So literally 2 months after bringing in the second largest mining company in the world. So we'd already done the due diligence on the project. I reached out to the CEO who I hadn't met before. American Pacific was able to purchase it. We purchased it for $2.4 million in stock. So that was it was a huge transaction for us. And since then, the company has grown significantly.
Okay, so let me get this clear, because I think this is an absolutely fascinating story. I talk to my viewers all the time about this. I'm getting ready to position myself into a lot of mining stocks, but not until events happen, right? Because I want to be able to take advantage. I want to see strength in that market because people have already done their due diligence. So let's talk about the story. So a company, if I hear this right, had bought a piece of property. It had a great piece of land, dirt right there. They partnered with Rio Tinto. They got Rio Tinto to the table. And then they decided, I guess they lost their mind because they wanted to go after psychedelics. and they sold you the piece of property and literally handed you a partnership with one of the largest mining companies on earth.
Yeah, look, it was an asset that we loved. We'd done the due diligence on it. We felt that it had the opportunity to be big. Obviously, for us, seeing Rio Tinto come in as a partner was huge and a big step in the right direction. And we were able to buy it for pennies on the dollar. $2.4 million worth of stock. At that time, the company was a sub $10 million market cap. It's a $150 million market cap today. Stock in the past year has gone up over 1,300%. The market cap's gone up over 1,300%. Brought in institutional shareholders. The company's growing significantly. It was a huge step in the right direction for the company, no doubt.
And it's a great example because I guarantee there's somebody asking, well, why didn't Rio just buy it? Do you have any insight to that?
Yeah, no, I do. So look, Rio, first off, Rio have been tremendous partners. They've been great to work with. Obviously, the work that they do is first class. If you're the second largest mining company in the world, you're doing great work. But they've also been tremendous partners. It often can be difficult in a David and Goliath scenario when you're David, which we are. Totally. They've been fantastic to work with. Yes, they could have bought it. Absolutely. But really, when you look at these major companies, they don't have exploration arms. They use juniors as the exploration arms in many cases.
Yeah.
And what they want to do before they lay down the cash to buy it, is they want to know that it's there, it's bow tied, and it can be ready to go.
Yeah.
There's more work to be done to get to that point.
Exactly.
So we had to go through significant background checks and all this kind of stuff, past all of that. And so they were able to, we were able to purchase it and move forward with them as partners.
So I'm glad you brought up David and Goliath, because this is a huge thing that I want people to understand about the mining industry. When you become so big, you only deal with big projects. And now I want to preface this with, they're all obviously dealing with American Pacific. They're partnered up on this project, right? What I want people to understand is once you get to a certain level, that it's hard to grow. It's hard to grow because you don't see the big opportunities, because usually the big opportunities come in small packages. And I see this all throughout the world, all throughout life. And a lot of people pass up the greatest things. And that's why I got involved in precious metals so long ago, because it was the David. It's the one that's discarded. It's the one that nobody likes, just like other times when people didn't want to invest in cryptocurrencies. And I'm like, I'm going to pick this up and I'll sell it to all the people once they all of a sudden get it, right? And this is a great story because you were positioned. You literally not only bought an asset, but you bought a partnership, which was probably one that just blew your mind, I bet.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
This is the thing. When you're a smaller company, what's your advantage? Your advantage is the ability to quick strike and be nimble. That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
On top of that, look, I'm partnered with Eric Saderholm. So I'm CEO and he's president. So he was the head of exploration in the Western US for Newmont. He knows how to evaluate projects. He knew a lot of different projects as well. Newmont, if they're picking something up, it needs to be a minimum of 3 million ounces to start. So he got to see a lot of stuff that was smaller, but has the ability to grow. So we've got 3 key projects. One is the Madison, and then Tuscarora and Gooseberry, which are in Nevada, that we see as they're high grade. They've got the ability to be doing multi-million ounce deposits with drilling, and the ability to be the desire of majors. We've shown that ability to transact with majors. We look to do that in the future with those 2 assets as well.
See, I'm glad. So this is a junior mining company, everybody. And remember, we've talked about the difference between the resource sector, where they're out there looking exploration level and looking for metal. We have junior miners, and then we have major miners. And so this is a producing mining company already that's now working with a large major mine, which is great. Those are the kind of things I like to look at. But I also like to look at the team. I love to, we need to stay humble in this world, because you probably know it better than anybody, is that these stocks can get just hammered when the paper price, which ironically has to do, it gets smashed during a liquidation event. And we're starting to see, we've seen it this year a couple of times. I mean, we see it all the time, but then we all of a sudden see those booms. Now let's bring it back to the inflation story. And then I want to talk about some news you've got. Inflation's rearing its ugly head. We didn't see gold and silver really moonshot. We started rising in the mid 70s, but it didn't take off until we were in an emergency. And ironically, that was around 1979 to 1980. Now, right now, we're backtracking up the downfall of that inflation. We had 1984 inflation numbers a month ago, 2 months ago. Now we have 1982. And I believe in about 8 weeks, we're going to have 1980s. So with that being said, we're probably looking at a price in the future, and this isn't investment advice, I'm just a dude, a bro hawk and a dream, but we are looking at a higher price for gold and silver. A lot of people are talking about that, right?
Yeah, listen, so I lived through the last commodity super cycle, and I look forward to living through the next one, and I think it's coming in short order. And during that time, you saw gold and silver rise dramatically, and then you see the well-funded, well-run junior companies. Those are the ones that you look back and see they had the ability to go that 10, 20x. That's what you're looking for if you're looking in that junior space. Look for juniors that are already partnered with majors, right? Because the major does the due diligence for you. Yeah. They come in, they scrub it down. They want to know that they think they can find it. And if they find it, they think they can put it in production. That's due diligence that your average guy can't do. Yeah. If you got a major involved, they've already done it for you. So yeah, listen, I'm highly biased. Do I think gold and silver is going higher? Absolutely. Yeah. I think for all the reasons that you've said, and I also think we're on the precipice of that commodity super cycle again. That brings incredible excitement.
Yeah, and you have a pretty well-known investor too, right?
We've got a few. The one you're likely referencing is Michael Gentile. So Michael is an incredibly well-known mining investor. He came in about in May of last year. We got Michael involved, and that was a huge precipice for change for us. He led with $1 million check of his own, and then when basically stood beside me, which was just something that I'd been looking for, is for a guy to stand beside me who was well known to said, listen to Warwick, because what he's saying is accurate. And once we got that, boy, oh boy, did things change. The company really took off. He's been incredibly helpful for us. He's put us, look, put a good CEO, I won't say myself, but put a good CEO through the door and he can close it 80% of the time on the way out. But you got to sometimes have a guy open those doors for you. He's done an excellent job for that. And guys like Eric, when they go in, their hit rate is very high. You've seen that since he put his money in. The end of last year, we raised another $10 million, all institutional, 80% institutional, I should say, from good, smart money. Now the company's got $16 million in cash and the ability to go out and execute. We look forward to doing it.
That's awesome. So now in closing, we don't want to run too long, but you have some information coming out pretty soon, right, about the company?
Yeah, we do. So Rio spent some time drilling last year. We're going to put those holes out pretty imminently now. We're certainly excited to get those out to the market. We're going to have significant news coming up on the other two projects as well. 2022 is going to be a huge year for American Pacific, in particular in Q1. There's going to be a significant amount of news. We're going to be spending, $5+ million on one of the projects. We'll put out this news here from Rio imminently. We're spending a good amount of money on one of the other the project just outside of Reno as well. And then we've got two other projects we'll look to joint venture out. So there's going to be a lot of news flow coming forward. This is really the breakout year, the build year for American Pacific. So yeah, we're excited.
That is awesome. Now, is there a way, I think we talked in the pre-interview talking about getting an email for you guys that if people want to reach out to you, they can. Are you going to be able to send that to me and I'll get it loaded up in the comments section?
100%. Yeah, I'll get you an email and along with the website as well for people if they want to take a look.
Yeah, I think what would be nice too is eventually I'm going to have to reach out to Michael and do an interview with him, just be able to get a perspective on, why he invests in companies like yours and, get that perspective, because I want people like myself, I want to be ready when this, if we have, because I already have mining stocks, but we have some of those opportunities to buy those dips. I want to buy into weakness because I've already done, just like you did, the due diligence on the property as someone goes chasing after drugs. so let's just call a spade. While everyone's losing their mind, that's when I want to be buying, and that's what you did. So that's why I wanted to tell this story, and I hope people get that. So while others are losing their minds, we're going to go crush it.
I'll put you in touch with Michael. He's one of the most well thought out, smartest guys on this side of the business. And he can sort of point to some of the successes he's had before and things that he's invested in. I'm sure he'll be happy to do that. So more than happy to do an intro.
That'd be awesome. All right, guys. Well, hey, with that being said, I thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, Warwick, for coming on. If you guys want any information about the company, I'll let you guys know. I'll get the links in the description below. And with that being said, the Economic Ninja is out.